The IMF organized huge loans for Indonesia and other Asian nations, on the condition they cut government spending, raise interest rates, and eliminate corruption.
You are the doctor going in to deal with a very sick patient. The public blames the doctor for the fact that the patient is sick, but the patient was sick to begin with. But these things are societally wrenching, and there are huge vested interests. And you wouldn't get into these crises if the vested interests weren't that important. That, I think, is one of the reasons why it takes political change to deal with a crisis as big as this.
To some of the region's entrenched leaders, the IMF's conditions smacked of a new kind of colonialism.
Presently, we see a well-planned effort to undermine the economies of all the ASEAN countries by destabilizing their currencies.
In the old days, you need to conquer a country with military force, and then you can control that country. Today, it is not necessary at all. You can destabilize a country, make it poor, and then make it request for help. And for the help that is given, you gain control over the policies of a country. And when you gain control over the policies of a country, effectively, you have colonized that country.
Every society in history for the last 4,000 years has found that the debts grow more rapidly than people can pay. And the problem is a small oligarchy of 10% of the population at the top to whom all of these net debts are owed to. You want to annul the debts to the top 10%. That's what they're not going to do. The oligarchy is running things. They would rather annul the bottom 90% right to live than to annul the money that's due to them. They would rather strip the planet and shrink the population and be paid rather than give up their claims. That's the political fight of the 21st century. Well, my job on Wall Street was to be balance of payments economist for the Chase Manhattan Bank in the 1960s. My first job there was to calculate how much debt could third world countries pay. And the answer was, well, how much do they earn? And whatever they earn, that's what they can afford to pay in interest. And our objective was to take the entire earnings of a third world country and say, ideally, that would be all paid as interest to us.
Look, don't give me a hard luck story. I hear them every day, and quite frankly, they bore me. The facts are simple. In 1973, this bank gave you a loan, and you still haven't paid it back. Admittedly, you paid back the initial sum, but not the interest, which to date amounts to 9 times the amount originally borrowed. 9 times. So you better get your act together. Times are tough, and we're all having to clamp down. And don't look at me like that. This is a bank, not a charity.
The number one cost for foreign lending through some of the multilateral institutions such as IMF and World Bank is the death toll on the continent. We can look at the support of dictators that took place 30 years ago, from 1960 till 1997, of a brutal dictator.
Moi, Mobutu Sese Seko Kukumbendu Wazabanga, je jure d'observer la Constitution et les lois du Zaïre.
He was given humongous loans. Everyone knew he wasn't using that for the population. He was propped up as one of the biggest leaders in the whole African continent.
While your country is young, only 10 years of age, that it has had a period of progress in that period, which has been an example for nations throughout the world. You have moved forward economically. You have established unity in your country. And you have a vitality which impresses every visitor when he comes to Congo.
What is interesting is all the money plundered from all the international debt is found in Western banks. So as he was removed from power, the money never returned to the Congolese. The population didn't have access to medical services, didn't have access to adequate education, living wage, and it continued till today. Now the Congo has a $14 billion debt. It's been structured in a way where the people do not benefit, and the human cost is so high. You know, in the Congo we have 6 million deaths since 1996.
Rich countries lend a so-called developing country a big whack of money. Debt is incurred on behalf of people who have nothing to do with it, don't know anything about it. Then they're expected to pay the price by scraping off their livelihood, turning it into money, and giving it to somebody else.
How could the money given to the Congo benefit to the people? Use some of the funds to make sure that there are strong institutions within the country that will protect against human rights violation and so many other issues that we face. But these funds are not used for that, because whenever it's given, they tell you specifically what project you have to use it for. And mainly, it's usually mining projects to get access to resources.